Give us free. Give us free.
Your Honor, please instruct the defendant that he cannot disrupt these proceedings with such outbursts.
Give us free. Give us free.
If we are to have any semblance of order in this court,
Give us free.
Peace, unity, and welcome my conscious and unconscious family and friends. This is the all-new BlackVillage Community Podcast, and I am truly your host of the show, JC, aka Afro Black, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut. Without any fear, as I use my mic as a spear to chucker you with liberated truth. I am your host and your native soldier in the struggle. My purpose and mission for this show is first to enlighten, inform, and engage. And I want to engage with all who claim to know the truth. All truth seekers and my native family, I welcome you. This show is dedicated to all our indigenous native ancestors and to all those who've carried the mantle of truth, and to every person with the ability to throw off the chains of comfortable habit and unwarranted assumption and move in a new, liberated direction that is guided by truth and observational evidence, no matter where that direction may lead you. My main objective and purpose here is freedom, mind, soul, and spirit. That being said, welcome to the BlackVillage Community Podcast, and much love from our great universal goddess and mother of all, living here and above.
AC in the house.
Aborigines, which means what? Black folks. You never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American.
You go to a reservation, you see poverty, you see churches, and you see liquor stores. When you go to any hood, you see poverty, you see churches, and you see liquor stores. So what make you think you're not on a reservation? Right? So all these achievements that we ascribe to African Americans, these are achievements by Native Americans who had to take on the identity of being African American because they was hanging us.
This means, in the case of an American Negro, it comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you, that the Indians were you. That the Indians were you. That the Indians.
But you think they was hanging people because they was Africans. Africans just want to go home. Nigga from here want to take his shit over. But you think they was hanging people because they was Africans. Africans just want to go home. Nigga from here want to take his shit over. Want to take his shit over.
Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. The rock was landed on us. The rock was landed on us. The rock was landed on us.
Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people. Aboriginal people. Aboriginal means the original inhabitant of a land from the earliest times. The ancient mound builders that built and designed the pyramids right here, not just by the Nile, contrary to popular belief in denial. Pyramids and huge hieroglyphics and pictographs on the ground are all mounds found around the Americas, north, central, and south. South, even Venus and Mars. That is documented fact that emanates from my mouth. So who exactly were these aboriginals here? Whose ancient evidence of residency is hesitantly mentioned in this hemisphere? Were they the stereotypical Native American so-called Red Indians? Well then, let's be clear, ask any of their tribes if they're sincere, they'll tell ya those mounds predate the origins. Our past was erased and replaced with lies. Our achievements and identity plagiarized. We got amnesia of who we are, but we go way back further than the seats in your car.
Aboriginal people, 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 Aboriginal people.
This is how we ride and roll. Soldier for life for sure.
Hey, this is JC, aka Afro Black, and I am here with you for another Indigenous Sunday to do nothing and share nothing but the raw and uncut. That's what I do here on the BlackVillage Community Podcast. And you can join me, you can call in live and join me right here at the Conscious Table of Truth. Or might I say the Indigenous Conscious Table of Truth, for that fact and that matter, at 857-232-0155. Again, that is 857 area code in 232-0155, and you need the conference code to get into the conference door to sit with me live here on the Black Village, and that is conference code 947595. Again, that is conference code 947595. Now that I got that out the way, let me change my theme music. Give me something more easy to vibrate to and communicate with my conscious community. Give me something like a little bit like how about, there you go, right there. Some Tupac in the backdrop. My theme, my favorite theme. That's why I play. That's why I loop that in the backdrop, because I love Pac. You feel me? Another indigenous brother. May he rest in peace. So while that's vibrating in the backdrop, today's podcast topic, and I quote, is a continuation of last week's podcast topic. That podcast topic is, and I quote, the Euro-American experiment and the game of Poli-Tricks part 2. Again, that is, and I quote, the Euro-American experiment and the game of Poli-Tricks part 2. Okay, I'm doing a continuation from last week. I enjoyed my time vibrating on the game of Poli-Tricks last week, and so I'm going to go through that and cover some things that I didn't get a chance to cover last week, but I want to cover this week. Okay, my microphone keep moving. Let me try to stabilize my microphone. You feel me? I got to tighten up my mic stand, but I'm here with you people. Okay, so last week I covered some things that I enjoyed covering, like talking about the basketball player for the Boston Celtics. I'm not sure how many people out there know of brother. I'm not sure how many people out there know of brother Kyrie. Kyrie I believe he's a guard or center. I'm not sure. I believe he's a guard or center for the Boston Celtics. Brother Kyrie. What's this brother? Let me get the brother. I got the brother's name right here. Brother Kyrie Irving. Yeah, brother Kyrie Irving. I covered that last week. That brother, anybody who covers professional basketball, and I know there's a lot of brothers out there, because that's who the NBA is filled with, a bunch of rich Aboriginal brothers. Not everybody I'm not trying to insinuate that everybody in the NBA is American Aboriginal. Of course not. You got white boys playing for the NBA. We got, you got all types of races. Cubans. I mean, Cubans are indigenous to Cuba, but and Cuba also was an American territory. That's a whole nother question. That's a whole nother conversation. But my point being is this, that the majority of the players, predominantly the players within that makes up the NBA league, Because if you had all these, if every indigenous Aborigine walked off the NBA, there wouldn't be an NBA. Bottom line, raw and uncut. Okay, there wouldn't be an NBA. So again, the majority of the players in that plays for the NBA, the National Basketball League, are, and I'm going to proclaim it, I'm just going to say it raw and uncut, in my conscious opinion, the majority of them brothers are American Aboriginal, regardless if they know that they are or not, regardless if they've traced it, their family tree or not. That's who they are. Some of them know that they are. Now, one of the ones who know that they are is Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Boston Celtics, and was in August, in the month of August, had a Sioux Indian ceremony, welcoming him into the family of the Sioux Indian tribe. And if you saw, and I would encourage anybody who don't know, if you don't know what what the brother looked like, then go Google the brother. There's many photos of him right there on Google. Matter of fact, you can Google what I'm talking about. It's all on the internet. It's all on news websites that the brother was ceremonially inducted into the Sioux Indian family, because he is a Sioux Indian. But if you see the brother, he looked like the average brother in the hood. He looks no different than any brother in the hood, Compton, New York, in the hoods of New York and New Jersey, in the hoods of Philly, in the hoods of Detroit, in the hoods of Chicago. He looks no different than in the hood of South and South Central and Watts, and so forth. But yet, we still got the Poli-Tricks going on. We still got the Poli-Tricks, people. What Poli-Tricks? The Poli-Tricks of they're playing with our identity. You don't see them playing with nobody else's identity. These white devils in this system are playing with American Aboriginals' identity. They playing an identity Poli-Trick game with us, people. And they're still doing this. And this is what I want to reverberate on today. I'm going to continue this in a part 2 today, talking about the Euro-American experiment. Because that Euro-American experiment, if you leave it up to white historians, the American experiment was America. But the question is, at that time, during that European colonial conquest, what was America? What was their taking? What was they taking? What was their? Oh, they were taking land, or were they taking more than land? Because I'm gonna read some information, and I'm gonna show that they were taking more than land. Again, what was the experiment? I mean, let me read. And I got some. I said last week I wanted to talk about the up and coming Barack Obama, Cory Booker. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody follow politics, but I'm talking about Poli-Tricks. See, the podcast topic is the Euro-American experiment and the game of Poli-Tricks. So I got some things I want to talk about, people. I want to share with you guys. You feel me? I want something to make you think, something to make you think, That's why. See, when you talk about politics, you can tell the raw and uncut. But the thing about Poli-Tricks and politics, whenever somebody's telling the truth, and those who don't know the truth, it makes you think. If you're a person if you're a seeker of truth, if you're a truth seeker, I'm a truth seeker. You got a whole lot of people out there that call themselves truth seekers, but no, the majority of the populace are slaves, mental slaves. They're not truth seekers. They don't care about the truth. They look for what feels good. They look for what's comfortable. They don't want the truth. Because a truth seeker, you feel me, is looking for the raw and uncut. And so I'm going to share the raw and uncut. So last week I said I was going to talk about Cory Booker. I'm going to talk about him a little bit today as well. But getting back to the point that these devils have played Poli-Tricks. They played Poli-Tricks with the identity game. With the identity, and you guys heard me talk about it over and over and over and over and over and over again, but I can't get off of it because there's too many people who look like me that don't give a damn. So if they don't give a damn, I shouldn't give a damn because other people don't give a damn, because my people are blind-minded and don't give a damn. I shouldn't give a damn. I give a damn about my identity. I give a damn about my culture. I give a damn about who I am so that my children and my family and those in my circle would know who they are. You feel me? So I give a damn. So that's why I do what I do. Now, talking about the game of Poli-Tricks and the identity game. You guys have heard it. You've heard it before. You've heard the chronology, the breakdown of how they called the people who they engaged with during those times of the 15th, 16th, 17th century. How they just gave us all these bywords and these labels from savage and Indian and black and colored. You feel me? You've heard it before. But as I said, you got the game of Poli-Tricks. Most people think that this colonizing that happened over here, most people read it from a historical perspective, and they don't actually see. Most people can't actually visualize the actual 360-degree game that was going on, because it was more than just a actual colonization of Europeans coming over here and just setting up their own, their own colonies. It was more than that. These people came over here, set up their colonies, started setting up their own laws, and they didn't bring slaves to build these colonies. They used what was here. But if you leave it up to these ignorant house Negroes, if you leave it up to monkey see, monkey do's, if you leave it up to the white devilish historians, the same motherfuckers that are promoting the Pangea theory, the same motherfuckers that are pandering and promoting the out of Africa theory, that can easily be shut down by anybody who do a little basic research. Yes, the out of Africa theory, they can be shut down. The Pangea theory. And number one, you got to first pay attention to what you're reading. Pangea is a theory. I want you to know, people, you got a lot of educated people that are in the educational academic world that don't even agree. That's why it's a theory. You got a lot of educated professors and not just the global educated community, but are right here in the U.S. You even got fellow American Indians, aka Native Americans, educated brothers that don't believe and don't promote the Pangea theory or the out of Africa theory. Number one, because it's a theory. We got to be mindful, people, that it's a theory. You feel me? And that's what we're not doing. That's what the majority of so-called educated Negroes are not doing. They're not researching with an open mind. They're not questioning anything that they're being taught. They just sucking on it like a sucker sickle. And when somebody like me come along, or somebody who, I guess on their academic level that don't agree with them come along, they do the white thing. What is the white thing that these house Negroes are doing? They just ignore you. They won't talk to you. They don't want to get into a debate. Yet that's what I thought organized, controlled, educated debates were about. Basically, you bring yours, I bring mine, and we discuss it. And even if we don't agree, at least somebody is left with something to think about. You feel me? And so that's what we got to do, people. We got to be open-minded. We got to learn to educate ourselves. We got to stop believing and stop depending on what we're being told. And we got to learn to question everything that we're being told by people who claim, that they're not what they, and they, because as I said, white people have disconnected themselves, and they've done a wonderful job at doing so. When you got a country full of slaves, you can do that, though. They've disconnected themselves from their own history. You talk to the average white person, the majority of white people will tell you, I don't know, my ancestors, I don't know if my ancestors owned it. And exactly, you don't know. Because your ancestors have done a wonderful job between the 18 and the 1900s of erasing their own fucking history. These white people have done it on an individual basis, though, and they've done it in written history. I say they've done it in written history because a lot of them have changed their names. They've changed their last names. In the 18 and 1700s, a lot of white people were changing their last names. So by doing so, by coming into what was called the industrialized period of the early 1900s, they were able to start fresh. And the government helped them start fresh. That's what Martin Luther King was talking about, how they were taking farms from indigenous American black people, taking their farms and giving them to white people. Man, we got to wake up, people, and realize who we are and that this is our country. America is ours. It's more ours than these European American colonizers are claiming it as theirs. They can claim it all they want. They're here, they've been here, and obviously they ain't going nowhere, so we got to live together, but they still got to respect the truth and their history of truth and stop lying about history, and we got to stop allowing them to lie. That's the thing about it. That's why they kick back and look at us as the idiot slaves that a lot of us are, because they kick back and they say something and we accept it. They kick back and they say something because some white person with a PhD, MDD, or whatever educated degree behind his so-called educated name that his great-great-grandfather most likely changed and probably was a German or a Jew or a European from England who came over here and had slaves. Because like I say, they disconnect themselves from their history. But we suck on the stuff. We don't question what they say. We don't question what they write. And that's something that we got to do. And we got to weigh it against our stories that our grandparents told us, that our great-grandparents told our grandparents, and that our great-grandparents and our grandparents told our parents. Those of us who do have that access to that information. You got a lot of so-called black people today who don't have access to information like that. So let me get back on point. Last week I was also talking about the evolution. Last week I was talking about the evolution of the N-word and how that's been made into a Poli-Trick. That was made into a Poli-Trick. I mean, I want you to know, people, the American Indian experiment, from the very beginning of Europeans coming over, English-speaking Europeans, specifically, I'm talking to those who are the children of these motherfuckers who came over here after the Spanish. Specifically, European American colonizers have made everything that they've labeled about us a game of Poli-Tricks. Everything that they've labeled about us. When I say us, I'm talking about those who they're labeling today African Americans, from Black Americans, from Negro American and Colored American. You feel me? And Indian, American Indian. They've made everything a game of Poli-Tricks. Now, when you talk about the N-word, that's a game of Poli-Tricks. Like I was saying last week, that word was never used or even given to Africans as a means, in other words, that word, the Negro, the word Negro, the word nigger, the word nigger was never used by Europeans, by white people to oppress Africans. Now, somebody might be saying, what does that matter? It matters a whole lot when it comes to history. It matters a whole lot when it comes to what they did over here and what they've told us over here. Because if the word nigger, if the word nigger, if the word Negro came from that so-called area, I believe they call in West Africa the Niger River or whatever, which is a total lie. That's not where the word came from. That's not where it evolved from either. And they took that word from Africa and used it on so-called enslaved Africans, then there should be an oral and written history of that in Africa. But there is no oral history. There is no written history of the word Negro, nigger, or nigger being used to oppress Africans. There is no written history. There is no oral history, people. Now, last week I played some information from Trevor Noah to validate my point. I'm not going to go into all that again because I got some more information I want to share today. You feel me? I got some new information I want to share today. And what I want to share today, okay, number one, I want to share something. I want to share an excerpt from a book, okay? But before I go into sharing this excerpt from this book, I think I might want to play... I want to play because I want to talk about also hate crimes and you know, because whenever you talk about how so-called Black Americans were labeled nigga and Negro, and how, you know, they got Black Indians, American Black Indians, American Indians. They got us to accept and embrace the byword Negro. And like I said, you got the educated American Black Indians, these bourgeois motherfuckers, and they're American Indians. They're not no Africans. That little sliver of rich, wealthy Black Indians that sit right over there in the Hamptons and sit right there next to white folks in white neighborhoods that grow up with some of the white folks, the little specks of American Black Indians, bourgeois niggas that be going to Harvard and joining fraternities, and they don't care about their history. They accept with the white devil the game, the Poli-Tricks that's being played, because they turn around and they play that game and feed it to us. Some of these very so-called bourgeois Negroes at these universities and at these colleges, at Georgetown University, Morehouse University. I mean, the list goes on, man. Come on, man. Let's just be raw and uncut about it. They're my house niggas that's been fed the same so-called Eurocentric, educated mess to feed us. My son, I got my oldest son has his bachelor's degree in political science and an AA degree as well in, I think, behavioral science. You know, and my son, I had to teach my son, you know, to go outside the realms of what they teach you at the university. Just don't feed on what those professors teach you. Go outside the box of the Eurocentric education system and get the truth. Get the other piece of the puzzle that they not gonna give you. So my son does that. My oldest son, who graduated from Merced University out here in Cali. My son graduated from Merced, University of Merced in California. He got his degree, and he's going to convert. He's not going to stop at his BA. He's going to continue his education. But my son knows not to suck on the idiocy that the universities feed the students. Do it to get the grade. Feed that white devil whatever he want to hear to get that A, to get that passing grade in that class. But know that he's a devil. Know that he's a part of the system, and he don't give a damn. He's just trying to get a paycheck. We got to wake up, people. But I got something I wanted to read right here. This that I wanted to read is from a book titled "Making Indians White" by Gregory Ablovinsky. Okay, let me see. Let me make sure. It's called "Making Indians White: The Judicial Abolition of Native Slavery." And so I got a part I want to read out this book. But before I read, I want to validate some things. Like I say, we got to realize that everything that's going on in this country, from racism to the educational system that feeds lies and not tells the truth about history, and how these white devils play games with the educational system, play games with the political system, play games, and the political system, the Poli-Tricks of political system that plays games with the economic system, giving trickle-down economics to those who don't have to get a higher education. We got to realize, people, for us to straighten this mess out, for us to actually see the real resolution to the dilemma and the issue that's been handed to us, that's been mentally manipulatedly handed to us. For us to resolve this, number one, not only do we have to embrace our true cultural identity, not only do we have to go back and resurrect our true culture and our true history and teach it to our children, but we also have to realize that when it comes to the game of Poli-Tricks, that none of them motherfuckers in there represent us. None of them. Barack Obama didn't represent the so-called black community. No, he didn't. He wasn't even from the so-called black community. Barack Obama was a Eurocentric, cultivated house Negro. We got to have motherfuckers that represent us, that represent our community. That's the problem. We're not putting people, we're voting for motherfuckers that don't represent us. We're voting for motherfuckers that not only don't represent us, but they're not doing anything in the system to put any teeth in any real change for the benefit of the people in the community. You got, brothers out there like Killer Mike, rapper Killer Mike, very intelligent, smart brother. And he's talking about starting things on a local level. And that's true. It does start on a local level. But it starts with a community and a people who feels a part of that community. But how can a people feel a part of a community, not only that they don't have a hand politically in making any changes to benefit them, but a people who don't even know that they are people because the people don't know who they are. White folks know who they are. That's why it's so easy for white people to work with one another and help one another and benefit one another. That's the whole reason why it's easy for the Mexican community to emulate the same thing, because they're handed political power to do that within their political community. And Mexicans have created for themselves a sense of a community, of brotherhood and motherhood and sisterhood. When it comes to the so-called black community, motherhood, brotherhood, and sisterhood, the last time we had that was in the 60s. And the people that was trying to keep that going, who saw the political corruption at hand that was trying to decimate the brotherhood and the motherhood and the sisterhood, was the Black Panther Party. They were the last ones that was trying to keep that in the community, so that brothers realize, hey man, I'm your brother. Where the Black Panther Party fell short of was reminding us that we were and we are the original descendants and the direct descendants of the original American Indian or American Aboriginal Niji. That was something that the Black Panther didn't take it to that, because they were too busy dealing with things on a political level. So people, we got to wake up. So on that note, let me play this audio cast. I want to play this audio cast that's going to speak to the fact of what I'm trying to talk to about when I'm talking about the Poli-Tricks of everything that affects us as American Aborigines. The N-word, that the so-called white people, they call the infamous N-word. They want to call it the infamous N-word, but they don't want to talk about the fact that they've made political and they've made legal a term that the mass community of so-called black people don't even accept. African American. The majority of us don't accept that. The majority of us don't. We know, a lot of us know who we are. They turn around and talk about the N-word like it's some type of mystique, when even though white folks use it openly, use it privately, just like those who they've labeled that word use it openly and privately, but they don't want to talk about real shit. These white devils don't want to talk about real shit. You feel me? So let me play this right quick, and I shall return right after this audio cast.
The number of reported hate crimes in the United States is on the rise for a third year in a row, according to data released by the FBI today. There were more than 7,100 reported hate crime incidents in 2017. That's an increase of 17% from the year before. Almost 60% of those offenses, that's more than half, were motivated by hatred over race, ethnicity, or ancestry. 22% were motivated by hatred over religion, and nearly 16% were attacks on people because of their sexual orientation. For more on this, I'm joined by Janine Bell. She's a professor at the Morton School of Law at Indiana University who studies hate crimes. Janine, thank you for being with us. What do you think is behind the rise now for the third year in a row? And I think we are probably expecting that in 2018 those numbers will show yet another rise just based on our reporting.
I think that the far right has targeted individuals in each of the sort of categories where we've seen rises, and that's the reason for the increases.
What happens next? Like, what do you do about it? On one hand, is this an enforcement issue, or is it something else? Is it about our political tone?
I think that political tone absolutely matters, but there's also the issue of enforcement. Law enforcement agencies need to investigate hate crimes. They need to let individuals who are committing hate crimes know that they will be prosecuted for these offenses. And of course, that doesn't matter in the 5 states that don't have hate crime legislation. There's not a way to prosecute these individuals.
We sometimes see the federal government getting involved, the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Is that a suitable substitute for a state that doesn't have hate crimes prosecutions?
It can help, but the federal government is not on the ground in small towns and localities in places that don't have hate crime legislation. So the federal government can only do so much.
How do you reconcile the polarization that we see in American politics, the limits to which the First Amendment is tested in terms of people who are out there and have decided they're on one side of a political issue and others are on the other side? How do you mesh that with these increasing hate crimes? Obviously, we've got to be able to deal with political polarization and not have it bleed into the idea that synagogues are being attacked and African Americans are being attacked for the color of their skins and Muslims are being attacked and gay people are being attacked. How do you reconcile those?
The First Amendment allows us to discuss issues, right? It allows us to interact over issues and, of course, allows us to think but it doesn't protect our right to attack someone because of their race, their religion, their sexual orientation. The Supreme Court has been quite clear about that fact. We have the freedom to engage, but that shouldn't motivate an attack against an individual who has a particular background.
All right. Well, thank you for the conversation. We appreciate it. Janine Bell is a professor at the Morton School of Law at Indiana University.
There you go. You heard that right there. Did you hear her? She said that the Constitution does not protect you because of your ethnicity. Did you hear him say that there's been a rise in hate crimes in this country since we've gotten this man in office as president? Just like there was a rise in hate crimes when Barack Obama. I mean, come on now. You had a so-called black man by the name Barack Hussein Obama. White folks hated that name when he first became president and thought he was going to usher in some peace. Usher in a new whatever, a change or whatever, as he called it. You know? But hate crime went up when he became president. White folks bought more guns and more bullets than ever before when Barack Obama became president. Now we got an example of what white folks, I mean, you can stick this man in literally a colonial regalia and he would fit in without a problem. They got what they want. Not only do he look the part, he talked the talk and walked the walk. You feel me? And they steal and there's a rise. You feel me? Why? What's going on? What's up? What's up, people? This is supposed to be the melting pot of the world, America. White folks created this shit. They created this gumbo pot. You feel me? Well, let me go back to what I wanted to talk about, okay? I want to read some things here. I want to share with my people some truth. Let me share this right here. This is called, what I'm going to read, this is written, you can go check this out yourself. You can go see this on the internet. This is taken from the National Center for Constitutional Studies. This is what I'm going to read to you right quick. It's called, Will the Great American Experiment Succeed? Let me read this to you, people. You tell me, You feel me? Because something to me sounds suspect. How you gonna have a constitution? But they say the Constitution was a bare document that, meant to be built upon, right? But let's find out, is that true? Because I personally believe that when them motherfuckers put the Constitution together, they were fucking slave. They believed in it. They believed in enslaving the populace. So why would they write something like that to protect the people? Huh? Or maybe they were just trying to protect their own aristocratic asses, huh? Maybe that's what. Let me read this, okay? This is supposed to be an excerpt from history. You feel me? The so-called framers of the Constitution, Thomas Jefferson. You feel me? Let me read this article. It goes like this. This is Thomas Jefferson in the first inaugural address enumerated what he called the essential principles of our government, which ought to shape the administration. He then stated, these are the words of Thomas Jefferson: these principles form the bright constellation which has gone before us and guided our steps through the age of revolution and reformation. The wisdom of our sages and blood of our heroes have been devoted to their atonement. They should be the creed of our political faith and the text of our civil instruction, the touchstone by which to try the service of those we trust. And should we wander from them in the moment of error or of alarm, let us hasten to retrace our steps and regain the road to which alone leads to peace and liberty and safety. Now, again, who was he talking about and who was he talking to? That's the question. Who was he talking about when he made the statement about guide our steps through the age of revolution and reformation? Who and what the hell was he talking? I'm going to tell you what I believe he's talking about based on what I've read and based on what was going on back then. The revolution he was talking about as far as them colonizing and taking America like they did. The reformation that he's talking about is bringing in their system, bringing in and putting in what they want to be over here and control the resources and the people for the benefit of them. You feel me, people? That's exactly what he's talking about. So based on that, if what I'm saying is there's any truth to what I'm saying, then I would explain why today the political Poli-Tricks game of identity reversal and how these motherfuckers continue playing the game with the educational system when it comes to telling truth about the history of those who are truly the original and the descendants of American Indians or Paleo-Amerindians here in America. It totally explains the Poli-Tricks game that they continue to play still today in the year 2018. Okay, well, let me go on. I got another one I want to read right here. Okay, because when it comes to history here in America, the Poli-Tricks game continues. It started out a game in the beginning of the so-called beginning of the formation and foundation of the educational system over here, going all the way back to the 50s and the 40s and the 60s, and it continues today. It has not changed. Some might say, well, they have made some changes. They've made very small, tiny, manipulative changes, no real changes to history in the educational system over here, people, let alone talking about other things that we can talk about when it comes over here, but just talking about history, which history is one of the most important things when it comes to culture. History is one of the most important things when it comes to a civilized so-called society. They're still playing Poli-Tricks games with it, though. Now, as I said, I want to read from this book right here, and the book is titled "Making Indians White." Okay, "Making Indians White: the Judicial Abolition of Native Slavery." Okay, by Gregory Oblinsky. I believe that's how you say his name. It's A.B. Blinsky. Okay. I want to read from this book. Okay. And I'm going to start right here. And the part I'm going to start in, I'm going to read. Let me move this over right quick. Make sure I get this thing on so we can read this. All right. Here we go. Right here. Now, starting at the beginning of the paragraph. The legal status of non-white servants and slaves in early 17th century Virginia was vague. Did you hear that? Let me read that again. It says the legal status of all, again, the legal status of all non-white servants and slaves in early 17th century Virginia was vague, because there were neither statutes nor common law doctrines defining enslavement. Slavery existed without positive statute sanctions. Not until 1661 did the House of Burgess enact the first statute that obliquely recognized the existence of slavery. Despite the legal ambiguity, a flourishing trade in Indian slaves existed in the Chesapeake area by 1640, and the people whom the courts now labeled as Indian slaves were brought and sold throughout the Virginias and Maryland. To the Indian laborers present in the colony from the beginning, the increasing tendency to label them slaves rather than servants was probably irrelevant. For cohesion and force were always the realities of their existence, regardless of the law. The first group of Indian servants mentioned in the Virginia record was a group of Caribs imported from the Caribbean who were ordered hanged till they were dead after they allegedly attempted to kill several Anglo-Virginians and then fled to the local tribes. Did you hear it, people? Did you hear that? Huh? Did you hear that? How come that's not in the history books? I'm going to tell you why. Poli-Tricks. The game of Poli-Tricks. That's why that's not in the history books. It's telling you right there that the original slaves, that the original plantation people, the original plantation laborers, that the original people who put together and created what was called a plantation, because before then it wasn't a plantation, it was indigenous Indian land. Those people that cultivated and built that white man's plantation, those people that cultivated the vegetation on those plantations, those people that made that plantation operate, those people who were slaves and servants on those plantations were not Africans. They were American Indians, American Aboriginal Indians, people. And that's what the white devil is still playing Poli-Tricks with today, still today in the year 2018. Let me read that one more time at the beginning. It says the legal status of all non-white servants and slaves in the early 17th century Virginia was vague, because there were neither statutes nor common law doctrines defining enslavement. Basically, there were no laws to protect, or even any laws that define. He just said there was no laws that defined it. He says because there were neither statutes nor common law doctrine defining enslavement. He says slavery existed without positive statute sanction. Not until 1661 did the House of Burgess enact the first statute that obliquely recognized the existence of slavery. So even the law that they wrote in 1661, it vaguely even recognized the existence of slavery. Then it goes on. It says, despite this legal ambiguity, a flourishing trade in Indian slaves existed in the Chpt by 1640, as the people of whom the courts now labeled as Indian slaves were brought and sold throughout Virginia and Maryland. You think it was just happening in Virginia and Maryland? No. I want you to know what was going on in Virginia and Maryland was going on in the Florida Keys. What was going on in the Florida Keys and in Virginia was going on throughout the South, throughout the Mississippis and Louisiana and New Orleans and so forth. The same damn thing. I would encourage anybody to go download this. Matter of fact, I will put a link to this book, Making Indians White, on my YouTube page, so you can go listen to this on my YouTube page, and the link will be right there as well. Okay, so let me move on. People, let me move on. I got information I got to read. Matter of fact, I got a book right here I want to read. This book is called, and this book was written in 1844 by a man named Samuel Morton, MD. Okay. This book is called The Inquiry into the Distinctive Characteristics of the American Aboriginal Race. People, this is a good book. In this book, now I give props up to Brother A1 on this, Brother Attentionist One. That's why I found out about this book, listening to Brother Attentionist One. One love to my from comrade, warrior, Aboriginal soldier, Brother Attentionist One. I give it up to him. That's how I found out about this book here. Okay. But this book is good because this book right here literally gives you the true outlook on what was going on here in America as far as the characteristics and the way indigenous Aboriginal Indians looked. Whereas and he admits, if you actually read the introduction to this book, this white man tells you that these other historians are lying in so many words. He tell you they're lying and manipulating history. Why are they doing it? I'm going to tell you why. These motherfuckers have planned, like I say, the American Indian was a part of the white devil's experiment, people. The American Indian was a part of the white devil's experiment because what was his whole purpose? Was to take this land. What our people would not give up? They wouldn't give up their land. They didn't have a problem sharing it, but the white man didn't want to share a goddamn thing. Just like the white devil don't want to share nothing today. Why you think we got a system that they call capitalism, which is nothing but a pyramid scheme where the wealthy 1-2% make all the money. They don't want to share shit. They don't want to share economics. They tell you, oh, hard work. No, you can work hard. You got, how many people know family members, grandparents, parents that have worked to death, worked their lives to die? Now you might say, oh no, they work so their families can be happy. But how did the person doing all the work get any happiness? Oh, what? Just watching their families be happy? That's a wonderful thing. But don't you think grandpa should have had some comfort too? Some relaxation too? You got those on the bottom who are struggling because they're working to death just so that their children can have something. Why? Because these white devils want everything for themselves. So let me read this, okay? This is, like I said, this book, this right here that I'm reading right now is from a book titled Inquiry into the Distinctive Characteristics of the Aboriginal American Race. That's what it's titled, yeah. By Samuel Morton, 1844. Okay. And I'm reading the part of the book that I'm reading from is called Physical Characteristics. Check this out. It goes like this. It is an adage among travelers that he who has seen one tribe of Indians has seen all. So much do the individuals of their race resemble each other, notwithstanding their immense geographical distribution and those differences of climate which embrace the extremes of heat and cold. The half-clad Fujian, shrinking from his dreary winter, has the same characteristics and the same characteristic okay, this word right here. He has the same characteristics, though is an exaggerated degree as the Indians of the tropical plains. And these again resemble the tribes which inhabit the region west of the Rocky Mountain, those of the Great Valley of the Mississippi, and those again which skirt the Eskimos on the north. All possess alike the long, lank black hair, brown eyes, cinnamon-colored skin, and heavy brow, dull, sleepy eyes, full and compressed lips, and the salient but dilated nose. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, people? I mean, let me read that one more time. He's saying that all these Indians share the same characteristics. Let me read that again. Okay, I'm gonna start right from the top. He said, "It is an adage among travelers that he who has seen one tribe of Indians has seen all. So much do the individuals of the tribe race resemble each other, notwithstanding their immense geographical distribution and those differences of climates which embrace the extremes of heat and cold. The half-clad Fuegian, and that's Fuegian, the half-clad Fuegian, shrinking from his dreary winter, has the same characteristics, though in an exaggerated degree, as the Indian of the tropical plains. And these, again, resemble the tribes which inhabit the region of the west of the Rocky Mountains, those of the great valleys of the Mississippi, and those, again, which skirt the Eskimos on the north. All possess alike the long, lank black hair and brown or cinnamon-colored skin and heavy brows and dull, sleepy eyes, the full compressed lips and salient but dilated nose. These traits, moreover, are the equally common to the savage and civilized nations, whether they are inhabited in the margins of the rivers and feed on fish, or over the forest, or subsist on the spoils of chase. It cannot be questioned that the physical diversities do occur equally singular and inexplicable as seen in different shades of color, varying from a fair tint to a complexion almost black. Did you hear that? Again, he's talking about the complexion of the American Aboriginal Indians. He said it cannot be questioned that the physical diversities do occur equally singular and inexplicable as seen in different shades of color. In other words, this was prevalent in all the tribes. He's saying that these colors, these shades, these different melanated shades were among all the tribes in North America. He said it cannot be questioned that the physical diversities do occur equally singular and inexplicable as seen in different shades of color, varying from a fair tint, mean light skin, to a complexion almost black. And this too under circumstances in which climate can have little or no influence, meaning it didn't matter if they went to the coldest parts of the United States, which is from Chicago to New York and New Jersey. It didn't matter where they went. It said they saw dark-skinned Indians in the coldest parts of America to the hottest parts of America. It didn't matter where they went. Let me read it one more time. It cannot be questioned that the physical diversities do occur equally singular and inexplicable as seen in different shades of color, varying from a fair tint to a complexion almost black. And this too under circumstances in which climate can have little or no influence. So also in reference to the stature, the differences are remarkable in entire tribes, which moreover are geographically proximate to each other. These facts, however, are mere exceptions to a general rule and do not alter the peculiar physiognomy of the Indian, which is and unequivocally characteristic as that of the Negro. For whether we see him in the athletic Carib or in the stunned Chima, in the dark California, or in fair Bora, he is an Indian, still cannot be mistaken for any of any other race. He just said that basically the Negro is the Indian. Let me read that again. These facts, however, are mere exceptions to a general rule and do not alter the peculiar physiognomy of the unequivocally characteristic as that of the Negro. For whether you see him in the athletic Carib or stunned Chima in the dark California or the fair Bora, he is an Indian still and cannot be mistaken for being any other race. So people, there you go right there. And that's from the book titled Inquiry into the Distinctive Characteristics of the Aboriginal American Race by Samuel Morton, M.D. Let me go to the top. Make sure I got this right too. So people, there you go right there. Poli-Tricks, again, people, by Samuel George Morton, M.D. And it was written in 1844. This was written in 1844. You can download. I'm gonna put that up there too. I'm gonna put that link on my page as well, on my YouTube page. You can catch the Black Village on YouTube. You can catch the Black Village on Facebook. You can catch the Black Village on iTunes. I'm there, people. The Black Village Community Podcast, and I'm gonna put the links up there to these PDF file books if anybody want to check them out and read it yourself and see for yourself. Again, people, Poli-Tricks. You just read it. I just read you some history. I just read you some history on what the diversity in the characteristics, the diversity in the color, the diversity in the... Basically, we all share the same damn features. We share the same features, but we come from fair tint to brown. He said, but the most common color amongst the indigenous Aborigines was brown and cinnamon brown. Brown and cinnamon brown. What do you see when you look at so-called Black Americans? What is the common color amongst so-called Black Americans? Brown and cinnamon brown. But then he said there were some Indians that was almost black. That was dark as black. Huh? Let me go on back down to that again. Let me say. I know what I read, people. We got to wake up. You feel me? We got to accept the truth of who we are. We got to stop letting these people identify us, and we got to identify ourselves for who we are. And I didn't ran out of time. I just sit up there and read and do it. I just keep on going and I keep on going, and I forget about time before I know it. My show tells me it's time for me to go. I'm gonna have to do a part 3 on this because I want to talk about the up and coming new Barack Obama. You know, people wonder, where did Barack Obama come from? Where did he come from? He just came out of nowhere. This intelligent, captivating voice talking brother that almost sound like a, he captivated the way he spoke and the way he talked and his voice caught your attention almost like Martin Luther King. Now, where did this man come from? Oh, he was a senator in Chicago. What? Where? Anybody never heard of him? Well, I want you to know another one's coming. There's another brother that's being groomed and that's going to try to take up the torch for the so-called Black American community. His name is Cory Booker. The question is, can we trust him? Do he represent our cause? Do he represent us as a people? Does he represent the so-called Black community? Huh? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to have to put that off. It's already after 4. I'm going to have to put that off to next week. And because I got some things I want to play. I got some information I want to talk about when it comes to him. But today's podcast subject was just to talk about and break down the fact that the game of Poli-Tricks is in everything, people. And the deepest part of what Poli-Tricks plays his games in is law and history. If you can control law and history, you can control the people. If you can control the laws in a country, and you can control the history that the people read, the history that the people see, the history that you want them to know, you can control the people. And that's what these motherfuckers have done to us, Raw and Uncut. I know you got some people saying, JC, I haven't heard you talk so raw. Like, you've been talking more raw lately. You've been cussing more. Look, people, I'm going to let everybody know that when my podcast contract is up for Spreaker, I'm not sure if I'm going to renew it. I'm thinking about continuing my podcast on a video level. I want to get a little bit more personal with people. People can see me, and people can call in, and I can talk to them right there on the show. So I'm working on putting together a video cast. I've mentioned this before, and that's what I'm doing at this present time. I'm getting my cameras together. I got one camera. I'm gonna get another camera. So I'm getting my cameras together. I'm getting my OBS system together, which is my digital background thing going on, software and stuff. So I'm getting some things together. So when my contract with this podcast company, which is Spreaker, is over, which is in the next I believe next couple months, 2 or 3 months I got left. I'm working on doing a video cast. So so after this is over, I might take about another 2 or 3 month break to get my video thing going. And I'm thinking about putting the BlackVillage podcast through a live video feed rather than just an audio podcast, but do a podcast live video feed over the internet through YouTube or Facebook. So that's what I'm working on. Rather if I'm going to do it on Facebook or YouTube, because I want my thing to be stable and strong and clear. And so, I'm not sure if I'm going to renew my podcast contract with Spreaker. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. So that's working. That's what I'm working on that as well, people. So bear with me as I do this and as I continue to research to bring you information. I'm going to put these links on my page on YouTube. So if you want to download or download what I just read, which is the inquiry into the distinctive characteristics of the Aboriginal American by Samuel Morton. I'm going to put that link up, and also Making Indians White by Gregory Abolinsky. I'm going to put that up there as well, and you can download those and check them out and research it. If you got something to say, bring it to me. If I'm wrong on something, bring it to me, people. You can chime in. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a bit of your conscious time. You can chime in at 857-232-0155. Again, that is 857-232-0155. Conference key to get through the conference deal to sit with me live on this show, which is 947595. Again, that is 947595. And as always, people, I will definitely be back to drop nothing but the raw and uncut. You feel me? Because I love what I do. I love what I do. And so on that note, I gotta go. But I will definitely be back, and I will be continuing this to a part 3, the Euro-American experiment and the game of Poli-Tricks part 3. So I will be continuing this. And I encourage my people, all my American Aboriginal researchers, call in. It don't cost you no dime. Call in, support a brother if you like what I'm talking about. Or call in if you got something you want to share and comment on in reference to my podcast topic. You feel me? So it's all good, all my people. So on that note, people, I got to go. Got to do what I got to do. So on that note, as I always say, may the great mother bring us together under the wings of her peace. And as I always say, I love chicken, so love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm out.
Aboriginal people, 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 Aboriginal people. No matter where you go in every country, we in there. Most of us did not come on slave ships, we've been here. Indian just means amalgamated more. The U.S. tried to wipe us out in 3 seminal wars. For each Aboriginal, 7 troops died. 90% of Indians were reclassified as Negroes. We fought European foes. Africa's great, but we don't look under our nose. Or now here's the Old Man River, or the Massey sequel, knock out the Mississippi. We're the Yamasee people, and others here like the Washita, the Chocos in Colombia, Darientos in Panama, the Garifunas and more. We're prisoners of war. Our titles, nationalities, and birthrights ignored. We got a huge missing gap in our past and been divided into race of some type of caste. Everyone else has a language, where's mine?
cause ours is long gone like your grandpa's hairline.
Aboriginal people, 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 Aboriginal people.